Tell me what I gotta do. Get the hook up in the future. We're live. We're live. Okay. Welcome to the live discussion of episode 8 from the Articles of ADOS podcast, Articles of ADOS podcast, however you choose to say it. Feel free. I am your host, Lisa Tyler, along with my co-host,
Daud.
Daud Jizan. So, this week's episode, first let me say thank you to all the listeners, everyone that shared the podcast, everyone that is listening to the podcast and giving us feedback. Thank you. As always, we are open to feedback. Hit us up, messages, send us an email, give us your thoughts, give us your ideas, some things maybe you'd like to see us incorporate. And we're open to listening to what our listeners would like to hear and see on the podcast. So we're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook, in the Facebook group, Periscope, via Twitter, and Twitch. So wherever you're listening, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button. Let everybody know we're live and talking about episode 8. That is entitled COVID-19 Proves the Case for Reparations. So cut the check. Cut all that chit chatter. Cut out all them town halls. Cut out all them webinars. We know we have environmental racism. We know we are at the bottom of most social, economic, whatever health outcomes, economic outcomes. So we already know this. It's been studied. You don't have to study us no more. Cut the check. Because checks evidently can be cut. Daud, which articles did we feature in our rapid news report?
The rapid news report. We featured articles from Essence, NBC News, the Columbus Dispatch, the Intercept, and Black Agenda Report. Did you want the particular articles?
Not yet. Just those first, and then our personality piece this week, because we have personalities. Mm-hmm. We have I don't know. Let's keep it that. We got personalities, and so that the question I posed this week was, is it the institutions or individuals that's holding us back? Because the NAACP, the Urban League, Black churches, all the project takeover people, they do stuff. Whether you agree with what they do or not, they do stuff. They try to engage the Black community, and they get 5 people that show up. Basically, engagement is low when they're trying to reach out to our community. And I posed that question. Daud said there is a duality. Daud, do you remember your duality?
Yes, I did.
Can you give the people a little bit more of what you meant by that?
Well, there's natural principles and natural law that we all abide by, whether we realize it or not. So-called modern society. There's the duality of between up and down. There's duality between men and women. There's the duality between you pick. Well, there's also behavioral dualities between societies, and those societies that have government impact people. And a part of the duality is the power of the people, which we are trying to appeal to through ADOS, and then the should be complementary power of government. And so you have the power of the people and the power of government and those in governmental agencies that should be doing the will of the people. And sadly, in the past 60 years, we've not been consistent. I've also going to correct something here. I've made in my describing this, sometimes I come to finite outcomes when I knew, because I was a part of some of them, there were movements and there were attempts at political activism at earlier ages, but it just didn't catch on to the point where it needs to in order to make significant and long lasting change for us. So you've got the work, and I'll just mention one, the fantastic work of Reverend Pinckney, who I sincerely believe was the ongoing emergence of the Martin Luther King factor in political and people's activism. His fantastic warriorship in Michigan is resounding in what he attempted and is still attempting to do there against for the betterment of Black people there and the betterment of the nation even. But they've been effective in keeping our warriors and women warriors under wraps in a lot of ways. So there you have the work of Reverend Pinckney in Michigan. Fantastic story there. So we've had that, but they've been purposely isolated, purposely limited, and we have not actively, as a collective, caught on with a significant percentage of us in this work of activism. We've been derailed, a lot of it, because of the assassinations and because of the co-opted leadership. We also have the difficulties of just getting by day to day on less and less, given these attacks we've had on our abilities of acquiring wealth. And the big ones of recent date have been the 2008 white domination racist targeting we underwent as a result of junk mortgages. And it had ramifications of us losing 53% of our collective wealth. And as a result of that hazard, we've been since that time, because we have not been made whole, we've been since that time in, according to economists, in perpetual recession. So all these are working on the power of the people to advocate for their self-best interests. And we cannot continue this track of whether it's voting blue no matter who, or the lesser of two evil dynamics. It has helped put us in this position. And so people that are very afraid of either Blacks who don't want to participate and vote, or those who want to do down ballot, which I strongly advocate along with my brothers and sisters in this ADOS lineage movement. It's a much needed change of our stance of go along to get along politics and responsibility politics and being satisfied with a Black face in a high place. We've got to get out of those bindings that are driving us economically, politically, and socially into the dust.
Great. Yeah, and I posed this question because I wanted to warn ADOS members as well as ADOS chapters that as Yvette has oftentimes said, you know, this is a marathon, not a sprint, because we are trying to engage a group of people. As we can see this past week with the cognitive dissonance with Biden, we are trying to engage people who are reluctant to be engaged, or reluctant to change, or reluctant to listen to different ideas, different political strategies. So when we're going to take over Project Takeover, don't be surprised that you take over these places, right? There some I'm pretty sure are easier to take over than others. But if you take it over, you're going to find the same struggles that they have are also going to be the same struggles that ADOS has when they're trying to build, when we're out here locally or nationally trying to build ADOS, because that mindset doesn't change because, you know, we found a better way of doing it. We still have to meet our community and neighborhoods, Black neighborhoods, and the residents there, where they're at, right? And right now where they're at is vote blue no matter who. Right now where they're at is hate Trump, and therefore anybody is better than Trump. Even they're on the lesser of two evil and have been for decades. So what Daud did propose in that personality piece is that we're not going to be able to reach everybody, right? Not everybody, nor do we need to reach everybody. Martin Luther King, he said, only had 2%. He figures that maybe ADOS needs 5 to 10% of our people to be engaged with us and start fighting for politics locally, nationally, start getting politically educated. So if you are already here, we off to a good start. ADOS is off to a good start. I think it's going to take a lot more time, a lot more elections need to be lost for people to get the idea that we mean what we're saying. We need Black agenda and reparations. And if we don't get that, is whatever strategy you take. Some taking down ballot voting. Some people are taking no vote. I think along with Yvette, that's kind of lazy. We need you to be politically engaged and figuring out why you're not voting for the top of the ticket. Figuring out why you're not voting for city council members, maybe one city council, 2 to 3 city council seats, but you are voting for the 3 or 4 other city council seats. You know what I mean? So be politically engaged. If you are here, try to learn, try to bring friends and family along with you that are willing to listen. But I'm here for the challenge. I'm here for the challenge to as an institution and as an individual, I'm here for the challenge. All right, we'll move on to the next thing we had, which was rapid fires, rapid news report, excuse me. In there, just so happened, one of mine was Joe Biden didn't just compromise with segregationists. He fought for their cause in schools, experts say. So this was before Charlemagne the God. Listen, Daud, we be before our time, okay? We be before our time presenting this news.
We really have to.
Yeah, we already know, like, all right, what's going on with Biden? He ain't just compromise and work. He helped them with their strategy. So that was one of the rapid fires. And it's interesting that a lot of people are complaining about, not ADOS, but a lot of Black people all of a sudden side-eyeing Biden after the vote. You should have side-eyed Joe Biden when he got in the race. All right, let me see what's going on here. Daud, you had a good one. Let me find the one that I wanted you to expound on. Where is it? Where'd it go? The social workers, because this is your field. One of the rapid news reports was that Black social workers having to contend with devastation happening in our communities during this COVID crisis. I thought that was being a case manager myself. Daud both of us come from this background, and having to be face to face with clients, customers, and patients, or however you call them, and how that dynamic has changed during this shutdown, during this COVID crisis. And I myself am working from home and not seeing clients face to face anymore. So I understood this article. I understood having to do work through Zoom meetings and team meetings through Zoom and Microsoft Teams, and customers have to now, you know, it's a whole new dynamic, and it's hard to do your job when it's already hard before. So I felt that was a good article. And Daud had you in your commentary on this, right at the end, you had suggested that social workers need to take a more political view on this and speak up a lot more than they do now.
Yes, like a lot of people in a lot of fields, areas, careers, whatever, they have to step out of that comfort zone of I've got a job that serves to the needs of the people and be a bit more proactive. It's very symbolic of instead of everybody being coached, which I believe what is happening, like sheep or being shepherded into waiting for some vaccine for the coronavirus, we need to be preventative, which corporations don't make a lot of money off of. Well, we need to be the same way in terms of our call to be social workers and work in that field. I believe we are long past, especially after the economic devastation we under that we underwent after 2013, having lost 53% of our wealth. I know everybody in the field at that time noticed some changes. I know I did notice some changes with clients coming to us in worse and worse conditions. So we have a platform for this or understanding of this. I know it was done in the 60s and 70s where people participated in freedom rides. They were sociologists all the way to social workers who didn't just sit behind a desk at their job or didn't just take care of the case that was in front of them. They realized there was a larger problem at foot. Well, the larger problem that continues to be afoot is continued white domination racism that undermines our life expectancies, as you encountered earlier, and that we are all too often have been redlined and zoned into high pollution areas that has caused all kinds of health disparities, another thing social workers look up to. Instead of reacting to that by helping people through those things, we need to be going to the essence of the problem, the root cause of the problem. And it's not just dealing with the family dynamics and helping them to adjust better to more brutality and cruelty. We need to be getting at the root of the problem, which is the system that keeps creating great clients for us. We need to be working in the efforts of getting out of the job of putting band-aids on bullet wounds. I'll stop there because I can go on forever.
Well, as a case manager, and looking at all the case managers around me and other previous positions I've had and the one I have now, being political isn't encouraged. Right now, I'm in the position where I am a little bit, I'm around more political figures, but I still stay in my job. You know what I mean? Mindset when I'm on the job, I'm not, my personal politics have nothing to do with the job that I do. So I'm just trying to help my clients. So, and I think that's what most social workers do. They're just trying to help people, and they're not thinking that it's also another political side to this, that maybe that you could be advocating. Maybe after work, you can go to the city town hall or the court or council meeting, the school board meeting, and advocate for those people that you are working with on a daily basis. I would hope that more social workers can get involved politically. You can do that by joining any ADOS chapter around the country, and or any organization locally in your community that's doing the work if you're a social worker, and advocate after work for your clients as well.
Exactly.
I hope to intend to do that a lot more in the coming time that I have with my work that I do with ADOS Columbus. So yeah, that was a good article. Let me give some. We need a moderator on Twitch. They reckless. They real reckless. But I'll get to blocking them people later. But when our next article was, let's see, one before I go, because it's Memorial Day, I did bring up that one of America's oldest living World War II vet, ADOS, gentleman by the name of Lawrence Brooks, did the National Geographic did an article on him and what our Black troops had to endure. They really got better treatment out in the war fields than they did back here at home. You know what I mean? And not a lot of times they lost their lives after coming back home from just fighting for rights and freedoms of America. And they come back home to Jim Crow segregation and lynching, right? They come back to being called boy when they were just men on the battlefield. You know what I mean? So I wanted to incorporate an article on the veterans, our Black veterans that sacrificed so much for us, that help create the landscape and the fabric of America, was our Black veterans, our Black military, whether it was Navy, whether it was Army, wherever they were getting involved in, you can always guarantee that they were being disrespected once they got home. And he is 110. So congratulations to him for living a long and ADOS life, because he persevered through all of that. But I just wanted to include one of those articles, and shout out to any of our listeners that are current military, past, veterans, whatever, fought in wars, to help ADOS get their freedom here in America. Let me see. We got you, David. And then that was all our rapid fires. And then the main event, I played a clip from Dr. Sandy Darity, William Darity, where he just, in less than 2 minutes, just went down the long list of reasons why, even before COVID, reasons why we are owed our debt, why reparations are owed. And that was a segue to the main event, which was Daud.
Black residents I'm sorry, I'm at the wrong one. It was I just got focused on coronavirus and went crazy.
No, I got you.
It was coronavirus is making the case for Black reparations clearer than ever.
Tagline was the COVID-19 crisis only heightens the urgency of Black reparations, which is now more essential than ever. Now, the authors of this article, none other than William A. Darity Jr. and A. Christian Mullen, the writers of From Here to, oh my God, what's the name of their book? It's Dr. Darity's book.
I've got it here on my board here. From Here to Equality.
From Here to Equality. Yes. I got to get that. I want to read it. And then so these two great minds who already had written a great book, written this article to incorporate what's currently going on with this crisis, COVID crisis, which is why I named the title of the podcast, because they already made it clear. We know we need reparations. COVID-19 makes it plainly clear. COVID-19 puts the nail in the coffin. There's nothing else left to discuss except how we're going to cut the check, which way we're going to cut the check. So Daud interviewed this article. He interviewed our writers. And what did you think of the Darities in their assessment of how COVID is affecting the ADOS and how we need reparations because of it?
Yes, the timeline that Dr. Darity and Ms. Mullen put together in answering what were the opportunities we had to be treated as valued and equal citizens in society was phenomenal to me. I wasn't even expecting that. That was really good. It clearly demarcates the idea notion that there were opportunities to have a more just and equal society. Didn't have to be perfect, just a lot better than where they decided to take things and where we are at now, at currently less than 3% of the nation's wealth. That's insane, given that we were half a percentage point at the end of the Civil War. So it's absolutely phenomenal that they gave that turn of events and opportunities that were squandered because the white domination racism works so well, especially among the white collective.
Right. Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts. He also kind of did it in the little clip that I played before it, and just breaking it down at every opportunity. Okay, America had its chance here. America had its chance here. America had its chance here, and did nothing. You know, and I liked how now we're up to where COVID. We're here again. There's another opportunity, America. COVID-19 is demonstrating that ADOS needs reparations for all the, not only slavery, but now for all of the times that you did not address it in the past. The timeline was perfect. I liked how they did that. And
as Tone,
one day when we get the courage, we're gonna call him up and see, can we have an interview with you?
And as Tone pointed out, and as Tone pointed out in one of his videos about 5 days ago, we've been left out of all the acts that have been passed, especially the HEROES Acts, where even they have acknowledged that ADOS are a particular significant number, disproportionate relative to other groups, of the essential workers, which they dubbed heroes, but then to leave us out of serious focus and benefits from such acts, while they know we have also disproportionately lost our lives as a result of this quote unquote crisis. It really, it's squandering further of an opportunity. At some point, this is another call to action for everyone, that if they're leaving us out at this point, there's no just voting blue no matter who. There's just no lesser than two evil white domination rapists that we have to contend with. There is the survival of the Black family, and we all need to get on board and rectifying their inability to see to those needs appropriately, especially those who claim they represent us and those who should represent us, given that we are largely a part of their constituency.
Right. Okay. I think that, is there any questions regarding episode 8 in the chats? Let me just check here. I want to thank David Smith and Vicki Lewis for joining us. And I saw I think Paula Barnett was in here. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I got my third co-host here with us, hanging out with us. So if you get to crying, I'll try to put us on mute. But I do want to shout out David. He started ADOS Tampa Bay. I hope that's off to a great start for you, David. I sent you the message that I sent you. You know, it's yours for the creating, and welcome to creating your institution. What else? Was there anything in the episode 8 that we needed to discuss? Oh, no, also continue to support the petition for COVID-19 relief. If you do, go to wethepeople.com. Concerned Black American Citizens is the creator of that petition, along with Triangle ADOS. I've already signed. I'm sure Daud has already signed the petition. And yeah, so we trying to get a lot of signatures and need a lot more. Next week's episode, guys, is going to be an archive dive. Archive dive is where we choose a year and we go back to that year. Yes, thank you. We go back to that year and we look at what ADOS life was like in that year as far as news. This year, next Thursday is going to be 1973. So we're going to take a look at 1973. I think it's a real fun episode. It's fun to go back and look at what was going on at that time. And I hope you guys like it. So it's called an Archive Dive. Archive Dive 1973. So check that out. If there's nothing else, Daud, I'm all set. Real quick, in and out.
I've got one thing I wanted to thank both of us for, and you mentioned it slightly when you started talking about the Joe Biden article we did in Rapid News.
Mm-hmm.
And you just gave it a brief mention, but we've been so consistent here, and this is another reason why really pass out what we're doing here, people. Those who are here with us live. To all those who come to us occasionally, you really need to pass this out because I'm surprised at how ahead of the game we've been. You mentioned just briefly how we were mentioning that in our Rapid News a week before his interview, his horrible interview with Charlemagne. I will not say the rest of his name.
Yeah.
And we were ahead of the game to talk about the amount of people in New York, the big story out of New York, how people disproportionately Black, disproportionately ADOS, were reporting in hospital ICUs diagnosed with the coronavirus, though they had never left their places of living. They didn't violate quarantine. We were talking about that 2 weeks before that came out. And now this recent study that came out about 4 or 5 days ago showing that there's a high correlation between people getting sick in the ADOS community who we were talking about living into highly polluted areas. We were a month ahead on that. So we are doing really good work here.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of times, like it's the commentary, I think, because everybody is sharing. Everybody is sharing some of the same information, but we take a different ADOS perspective on it, and so we don't want to toot our horn. Do we want to toot our horns?
We deserve it on these. If we keep doing this, man, we're going to be the people to watch in the future. I'm telling you.
Right. Okay. Listen, before he cry y'all out, we got to get up out of here. You gonna cry us out?
That's been a good baby.
So I appreciate everyone for joining us. Thank you for liking, sharing the podcast. I think we're finding our audience, and if you think there are other people that would also like to come along, share the group, share the podcast, and if there's anything that you guys want us to put in the that you're doing, and you want us to announce it on the podcast, shoot me an email, shoot me a message like, hey, we're having an event next week, da 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 da. As long as it's an ADOS event and it's free to the ADOS community, it's free for you to announce on our show. All right, so see you guys next week. I'm hot, he hot, and I want to hurry up before he get to hollering. All right, so thanks for listening. Daud, you can take us out.
Have a good evening, everyone. Peace, fam.
Peace.